In Donald Trump's Republican Party, loyalty is not a two-way street. Listen to how the crowd greeted South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham at Trump's victory rally just last night in Columbia.
When I'm in trouble on the left, I call up Lindsey Graham, and he straightens it out so fast. And I'll tell you, no, remember. I love him. He's a good man. Come up here, Lindsey. Come up here, Lindsey. Come here.
Joining us now, Democratic Governor Roy Cooper of North Carolina. I was fixated by that. I'm sorry.
Are they born like that in North Carolina, Governor?
I think if he came, they would at a MAGA rally. They certainly would.
Governor, welcome. Yeah. So on my side of the aisle, that's what we got.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out, and with Nikki Haley and all of that, how that's going to play out. On the Democratic side, you and I were talking a little bit before about how the Biden administration has really provided states with good glide paths that are impacting the economy, the healthcare systems, et cetera. Talk a little bit about how you see the differences between the two parties setting up for the national narrative around public policy, because we have not really had a public policy debate yet in this country. And I think that's an advantage for Joe Biden, quite honestly. What's your take on how you're seeing things set up right now for President Biden versus President Trump in terms of how the states, governors, for example, are looking at the state of play?
We're all here this weekend, Republican and Democratic governors, and what we have is a generational investment for roads and bridges and public transportation and high-speed internet. So we're working to make sure that it gets implemented. But you see from last night that Donald Trump has an iron grip on this Republican Party, and there is going to be a stark choice in November. This is going to be a Biden-Trump rematch, and I don't think a lot of people have wrapped their minds around that. But the choice is going to be that do you want a president who wakes up every morning thinking about the American people, or do you want a president who wakes up every morning thinking about himself? And that is going to be the stark choice. Joe Biden's experience, he did more his first 2 years than most presidents could hope to do in 2 terms. Almost 15 million jobs in the first 2 years, more small businesses than ever, fighting prescription drug costs. We're seeing inflation coming down now. And what we need to do as Democrats is to let the American people know about these things, make sure that they understand why their high-speed internet is going to get connected, why the water system in rural Sampson County, North Carolina, in a community that had been forgotten, now people with tears running down their cheeks are finally going to get clean water and not have to boil it. How almost 600,000 people in North Carolina are going to get health care now because we've expanded Medicaid in North Carolina and got a Republican legislature to do it. Those are the things that are so exciting that are going to matter to everyday people. And I don't think everyday people are talking about what we're talking about. We're not talking about the politics of this and aren't really aware of it, I don't think. Many of them aren't.
You know better than anyone that the Biden reelection campaign has set their sights on North Carolina. They believe that it is winnable for them, and with good reason. You are part of that reason. What is the investment that's going to have to be made in North Carolina to actually deliver a Democratic victory for Joe Biden?
We're going to have to meet people where they are. We're going to have to listen to them. Joe Biden, this was his closest loss in 2020, 1.3%. In a year that was very good for Republicans in North Carolina. He closed the gap from Hillary Clinton's loss, which was 3.6% in 2016. So we're a fast-growing state. Our blue counties are getting bluer. And we're going to have some issues that are going to rally the troops. Women's reproductive freedom is on the ballot in North Carolina in November. It's on the ballot across this country, obviously. But the Republicans, with a one-vote supermajority, were able to override my veto to put in a 12-week abortion ban in North Carolina, and people are upset about that. The Republicans in North Carolina have been able to use technologically diabolical gerrymandering to draw districts that don't reflect North Carolina, who we are as North Carolinians. We're a 50-50 state. So that's going to be an issue that's going to be on the ballot this time. We're going to be working to elect a governor. We're going to make sure that we break that supermajority in the legislature again. And all of that, I think, is going to converge. And we're going to work with the Biden campaign to win this state for Joe Biden.
People talk a lot about, we talk a lot about 2024 in the context of the presidential, but yes, in North Carolina and 10 other states will be choosing new governors. The state legislature, America's policy is made in the state legislatures. What is your biggest hope for the election in North Carolina, and then what's your biggest concern?
Yeah.
Because you're term limited, so but you're going, you're doing your part.
Let me say, I am working on the races as if I were on the ballot, because we have to continue the progress that we've made in North Carolina. My hope is that we win the state for Joe Biden, because I think the presidential election is going to go through North Carolina, that we elect Josh Stein, who is currently our Attorney General, who's running against the independently elected Lieutenant Governor, that we break the supermajority in the legislature, that we try to hold our own in Congress. We have an important Supreme Court race up. I appointed Allison Riggs to the state Supreme Court. She is on the ballot. You know, my fear is that people may just decide to stay home, that they get frustrated that, you know, people haven't wrapped their minds around the fact that this is going to be a Biden-Trump rematch. So I'm concerned about complacency. And when our country is on the brink here, when the world is on fire, we have a president who has the foreign policy experience to deal with these issues. We have to let people know what's on the line here and what a stark choice we have here between Donald Trump and Joe Biden.